Blood pooled on Julie Keely's bathroom tiles like spilled wine. The man collapsed against her sink, gasped in Korean, words she didn't understand but recognized as prayer. His white dress shirt, now crimson-soaked, clung to 3 bullet wounds across his ribs. "Don't move." Julie's hands were already assessing the damage, nurse instinct overriding the scream building in her throat. "Please." Leon Tung's English came out broken, desperate. "They'll kill anyone who helped." Heavy boots thundered in the hallway outside. Voices barked commands in Korean. Door after door, bang, 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 methodical, getting closer. The ambush had been surgical. His brother Kenzo's smile at the restaurant, the way the exits were already blocked when the first shot rang out. The freezing plunge into the Han River. Leon dragging himself through storm drains until he saw one lit balcony door. One chance. A fist hammered on Julie's front door. She met Leon's eyes, the most feared man in Seoul reduced to raw terror. Her hand shot out, twisted the bathroom lock, then cranked the shower to full blast. Steam hissed, water roared. "We're not making it out of this," Leanne whispered. Julie grabbed her medical kit. "Yes, we are. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm responding to everyone. Click subscribe, like this video. Your support helps us bring more thrilling stories, and trust me, you won't want me to miss them." Let's begin. The restaurant had been Kenzo's choice. That should have been the first warning. Leon Tung adjusted his cufflinks as he stepped through the ornate doors of Seongsu-dong's most exclusive establishment, the kind of place where reservations required 6 months' notice and silence. The Dragon of Seoul didn't do family dinners, but Kenzo had insisted. "Peace talks," he'd called it. "We need to discuss the future of the organization." The private room overlooked the Han River, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city lights like scattered diamonds. Kenzo stood when Leanne entered, that boyish smile stretching across his face, the same one their mother had loved, the same one that had talked his way out of every childhood punishment. "Young." Kenzo bowed, just deep enough to show respect, just shallow enough to suggest equality. "I ordered your favorite." Leanne's 4 bodyguards positioned themselves at the exits. Protocol. Always protocol. They talked business for 20 minutes. Territory disputes. The Russians encroaching on Gangnam. The new synthetic drug flooding university campuses. Kenzo listened, nodded, agreed to everything. Too easily. "You've changed," Leanne said, pouring soju into both their glasses. "Prison made you cautious. Prison made me smart." Kenzo raised his glass. "To family." The toast hung in the air for a heartbeat too long. Then the lights went out. Muzzle flashes erupted from behind the decorative screen. Leanne's bodyguards dropped. Precise headshots, professional execution. He dove behind the table as wood splinters exploded around him. His hand went to his shoulder holster, but Kenzo was faster, kicking the weapon across the polished floor. "Nothing personal, Hyung." Kenzo's voice carried no emotion now, just cold calculation. "But the family needs someone who isn't trapped in the old ways. Someone who understands that money has replaced honor." Leanne rolled, grabbed a fallen bodyguard's pistol, fired twice. One of Kenzo's men crumpled. But there were too many. Shadows pouring in from every door, a choreographed slaughter. A bullet caught Leanne's shoulder. Another punched through his side. The third tore across his ribs, spinning him into the window. He saw his brother's face illuminated by gunfire. No regret, no hesitation. Just the mathematical certainty of a man who'd already won. Leanne crashed through the window. Glass and gravity swallowed him whole. The Han River rushed up, black and merciless. Impact felt like concrete. Water forced into his lungs, cold needles driving through bullet wounds. He sank, the current dragging him downstream, away from the lights, away from the life he'd built. "Swim. You know how to swim." His father's voice, decades old. Swimming lessons in this same river, back when it had been clean enough to see the bottom. "A dragon belongs in water, Leanne. Remember that." He kicked toward the surface, broke through gasping. Searchlights swept the waterfront. Kenzo's men, systematic as always. Leanne filled his lungs and dove again, letting the current carry him under the Seongsu Bridge, past the shuttered warehouses, toward the industrial district, where the river met the city's forgotten veins. A drainage tunnel. He pulled himself into the concrete mouth, every movement tearing at the holes in his body. Water mixed with blood, creating abstract patterns in the shallow stream. The tunnel network stretched for miles. He'd used them before, during the territorial wars of his youth. But that was 20 years ago, when his body hadn't leaked life with every breath. Darkness swallowed him. He crawled through filth and rats, and the city's discarded secrets. Time became meaningless. Pain became background noise. All that remained was forward motion, one hand after another, following the faint air currents that meant an exit somewhere ahead. His phone was dead, drowned in the river. His men were probably dead too, or already turned. Kenzo would have planned for every contingency. His brother's greatest strength had always been patience. While Lian ruled through presence and principle, Kenzo had spent 5 years in prison, learning to wait, to plan, to see 3 moves ahead. The tunnel sloped upward, fresh air, city sounds filtering through concrete. Lian emerged in an alley behind apartment complexes, Seongpa GU district by the street signs. Miles from the restaurant, his white shirt clung to him, transparent with water and crimson. He needed help. Needed someone who wouldn't ask questions, wouldn't call the police, wouldn't already be on Kenzo's payroll. An apartment building loomed above him, balconies stacked like prison cells. One window glowed with warm light. A woman's silhouette moved past curtains. Alone, civilian, far enough from the city center to be anonymous. Lian dragged himself up the fire escape. Each rung a small death. The balcony door was locked, but flimsy. He put his elbow through the glass and stumbled inside. Into Julie Keeley's bathroom. Julie Keeley had learned to love silence. After 12 hours in Seoul Metropolitan Hospital's ER, the screaming traumas, the coding patients, the families who couldn't understand her broken Korean and blamed her anyway, silence felt like mercy. She kicked off her sneakers at the apartment door, peeled away her scrubs still stiff with someone else's dried blood, and padded barefoot to the shower. The water ran hot. Too hot. She stood under the spray until her brown skin turned pink, until the hospital smell finally washed away, until she could breathe without tasting antiseptic. Her phone buzzed on the bathroom counter. A text from Maya, her only real friend at the hospital. "Girl, you surviving?" Managers on a rampage about the supply inventory. Julie smiled, typed back, "It's my night off. He can count his own gauze." She wrapped herself in the oversized towel her mother had sent from Atlanta, soft, worn, smelling faintly of the lavender detergent from home. The apartment was small, a studio in Seongpa GU that cost more than it should, but came with a balcony overlooking the Han River. Worth it, she told herself. Worth the price to have a place that felt like hers in a country that still looked at her like a curiosity. The refrigerator hummed its familiar song. She'd stocked it yesterday. Kimchi that she still couldn't eat without tears, instant ramen for lazy nights, and the expensive American peanut butter she'd found in Itaewon. Tonight called for comfort. She made toast, thick with peanut butter, and poured herself the last of the wine. A bottle of Merlot that had survived 3 moves and 2 breakups. The Korean drama on her laptop played on mute, subtitles scrolling past. She'd seen this one before, knew how it ended. The CEO would realize he loved the poor girl. They'd kiss in the rain. Everything would be perfect. Predictable. Safe. Exactly what she needed. Her nursing textbook lay open on the coffee table. Recertification exam in 3 months. She'd come to Seoul 2 years ago with a plan. Save money. Pay off student loans. Maybe see the world. Before settling into the same Atlanta hospital where her mother had worked for 30 years. The plan had been simple. But plans didn't account for how foreign you could feel in your own skin, how the other nurses whispered in Korean when she entered the break room, how patients sometimes refused her care, requested a real Korean nurse, how her supervisor called her the American even though she'd corrected him a dozen times. "I'm American, yes, but I'm black. I'm Julie. I have a name." She'd stopped correcting him. The toast tasted like childhood, like Saturday mornings before nursing school consumed her life, like her grandmother's kitchen in Savannah, before the cancer. Before everything got complicated. Julie checked her phone again. No new messages. Maya was probably already asleep. Everyone else she knew was back in Atlanta, 7,000 miles away, living lives that had moved on without her. She wandered to the balcony door, pushed it open. Cool April air rushed in, carrying the smell of rain and the distant hum of the city. Seoul never really slept. Even at 2 in the morning, cars streamed across the bridges. Neon signs flickered in Hangul she still couldn't fully read. Beautiful. Lonely. Both things could be true. A siren wailed somewhere downstream, joined by others. Police, probably. Or ambulances heading to the hospital, where she should have been grateful she didn't have to work tonight. She'd done enough, saved enough lives. Tonight was hers. Julie went back inside, locked the balcony door. The drama had moved to the breakup scene, the girl crying, the CEO walking away, all very tragic and temporary. She knew they'd be fine by episode 12. Her medical bag sat by the door, never fully unpacked. Habit. You never knew when someone might need help, even on your night off, even in a foreign country, where half the people looked at you like you didn't belong. She finished her wine, rinsed the glass, set it in the dish rack. The apartment was clean now, organized. Everything in its place. She'd learned that from her mother too. Control what you can control. The rest will take care of itself. Julie brushed her teeth, moisturized her face, wrapped her hair in her satin bonnet. The bed called to her. Sheets fresh, alarm set for noon tomorrow. A whole morning of sleep. A luxury. She turned off the lights, climbed under the covers, let her body finally relax. That's when she heard the glass break. The balcony door, the one she'd just locked. Julie sat up, heart hammering, reaching for her phone. But before she could dial, a shadow stumbled through her bathroom doorway, leaving wet footprints of something dark across her floor. A man. Soaked. Bleeding. Looking at her like she was his last prayer. Julie's scream died in her throat. Training took over. Assess, prioritize, act. The man wasn't holding a weapon. 3 visible gunshot wounds, maybe more hidden under the soaked shirt. Shock setting in, skin pale beneath Asian features, lips going blue. He had minutes, not hours. Don't. His English came out strangled. He collapsed to his knees on her bathroom tiles, hands pressed together in supplication. Please. Don't let them take me. Who's them? Julie was already moving, grabbing her medical bag, her hands steady even as her mind raced. Lock the door. No. Help him first. No. Find out what. Boots thundered in the hallway outside. Heavy, military rhythm. Multiple sets. The man's eyes went wide with animal terror. Please. A fist hammered on her door. Then another. Systematic. Apartment 412. 413. 414. Coming closer. Julie made a decision she'd regret or justify for the rest of her life. Bathroom. Now. She grabbed his arm, felt him shudder at her touch. Blood transferred onto her hands, warm and slick. She half-dragged him across the tiles, his weight nearly pulling them both down. I can't, he started. Shut up. She shoved him toward the shower, cranked the water to full blast. Steam immediately began filling the small space. Get in. Stay down. Don't make a sound. He stumbled into the tub, fully clothed, water cascading over his wounds. He bit down on his own fist to keep from crying out. Julie locked the bathroom door, surveyed the damage. Blood on her floor, blood on her hands. A trail from the broken balcony door to the bathroom that screamed, "Someone's in here." She grabbed the towel from earlier, the one from her mother, "Sorry, Mom," and started wiping the floor. Quick, efficient strokes. Smearing more than cleaning, but it would have to do. The knocking reached her door. Bang, bang, bang. Seoul Metropolitan Police. Open up. Julie threw the bloody towel into the bathroom, locked eyes with the man in her shower. He'd gone completely still, water streaming over his face, one hand pressed against his side to slow the bleeding. She put a finger to her lips. He nodded. She shut the bathroom door, took 3 seconds to steady her breathing, and opened the front door. 4 men in tactical gear. Not police. Wrong uniforms, wrong energy. The patches said security company, but the eyes said something else entirely. The lead one was young, professional, with the cold calculation of someone who'd killed before and would again. Good evening, miss. His English was perfect, Seoul International School accent. We're conducting a building sweep. There's been an incident. An incident. Julie kept her voice sleepy, confused. She was good at this. Years of dealing with hospital administrators had taught her how to play dumb. It's 2 in the morning. We apologize for the inconvenience. He was already looking past her, scanning the apartment. Have you seen or heard anything unusual tonight? Behind her, the shower continued its steady roar. Just you guys banging on doors. Julie crossed her arms, blocking the doorway with her body. What kind of incident? A fugitive. Dangerous, armed. The man's partner was checking a tablet, scrolling through something. Photos, probably. Korean male, late 30s, approximately 180 centimeters, injured. Haven't seen anyone. Julie's heart hammered against her ribs, but her face stayed neutral. She'd learned that too. How to lie to doctors about patient drug use. How to keep expressions calm while someone coded on the table. I just got off a shift at Seoul Metropolitan. Been home for an hour. The leader studied her face. You're a nurse. ER. Something shifted in his expression. Calculation. Then you understand the importance of public safety. If this man comes to you seeking medical help, you need to call us immediately. He handed her a business card, black with silver lettering. No company name, just a phone number. He's extremely dangerous. I'll keep that in mind. Julie took the card, forced a yawn. Can I go back to sleep now? The man glanced at his partner, who shook his head slightly. Nothing on the thermal scan. Move on. Check the balcony, the leader said. Julie's stomach dropped, but she stepped aside. Sure, it's unlocked. The partner walked through her apartment, checked the balcony, saw the broken glass from outside. He leaned out, looked down at the fire escape. Could have kept going down. Nothing here. The leader lingered at her threshold. You live alone? Is that relevant? Just being thorough. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Be careful tonight. Lock your doors. I always do. They moved to the next apartment. Julie shut the door, locked it, waited for the footsteps to fade. Then she counted to 60. Then another 60. Finally, she unlocked the bathroom door. The man sat in the tub, water still running, his white shirt now translucent pink. He looked at her with something between gratitude and terror. They're gone, Julie whispered. For now. He tried to stand, stumbled. She caught him before he hit the tiles. We need to stop the bleeding, she said. And then you're going to tell me who the hell you are, and why I just became an accessory to whatever this is. Lian Tung met her eyes. My name is Lian, and I just made you the most dangerous woman in Seoul. Julie turned off the shower and assessed her patient with clinical detachment. 3 entry wounds, no exits. The bullets were still inside him. Shoulder, right side below the ribs, and a grazing wound across his left ribcage that had torn through muscle but missed the bone. The side wound worried her most, close to the liver, maybe the kidney. If it had nicked either organ, he'd bleed out internally before sunrise. Can you stand? She kept her voice low, aware that the cleaners might come back. Lian gritted his teeth and pushed himself up using the shower wall. Water dripped from his hair, his clothes, pooling around his feet. He swayed but stayed upright. Good. Out of the tub. Sit. She pointed to the closed toilet lid. He obeyed without argument. That told her everything about how much pain he was in. Men like him, powerful men, they didn't take orders easily. She'd seen it in the ER, CEOs and politicians suddenly mortal on her table, still trying to bark commands while coding. Julie grabbed scissors from her medical bag and started cutting away his shirt. Expensive fabric, custom tailored, ruined. The kind of shirt that cost more than her monthly rent. Who are you? She asked, swabbing blood away to see the wounds clearly. Someone who made enemies. His English was better now. Accent slight. Educated abroad, probably. You shouldn't have helped me. Little late for that. She pressed gauze against the side wound. He flinched. Hold this. Press hard. His hand replaced hers, large and scarred across the knuckles. Fighter's hands. She noticed the tattoo peeking from under his collar. Dragon scales. Intricate work that probably covered his back. Yakuza style, but Korean. Oh God. Mafia. Julie's hands didn't shake. She'd treated gang members before, back in Atlanta. Gunshot wounds didn't care about politics. A bleeder was a bleeder. I need to extract the bullets. She laid out her supplies on the sink counter. Surgical gloves. Lidocaine she'd stolen from the hospital for emergencies. Forceps. Sutures. I don't have proper anesthetic. This is going to hurt. I've had worse. Sure you have. She snapped on the gloves. But you've probably been unconscious for the worst parts. You're going to be awake for this. She started with the shoulder wound, cleanest entry, lowest risk. The lidocaine would help, but not enough. She injected it around the wound site, waited 30 seconds for it to take effect. Tell me if you're going to pass out, she said. I won't. Julie inserted the forceps. Lian's entire body went rigid, jaw clenched so tight she heard his teeth grind, but he didn't make a sound. She probed carefully, feeling for the foreign object embedded in muscle. Metal scraped against her instrument. Got it. She extracted the bullet, dropped it into the sink with a tiny clink. One down. Lian's breathing had gone shallow, controlled. The way someone breathes through agony, they refused to acknowledge. The ribcage graze didn't need extraction, just cleaning and sutures. She worked quickly, efficiently, the needle pulling skin together in neat rows. Muscle memory from 1,000 ER shifts. Her hands knew what to do, even when her brain screamed that this was insane, that she was performing surgery on a criminal in her bathroom, that she should have called those men back. But she hadn't, and now she was committed. The side wound was last. Deepest. Most dangerous. This one's bad, she told him. I need to know if you're bleeding internally. Are you urinating blood? Vomiting? No. Lucky. She injected more lidocaine, but she'd used most of it. This was going to be worse. Bite down on this. She handed him a leather belt from her robe hook. He took it, held her gaze. You've done this before. Not in a bathroom. Julie positioned the forceps. But biology's biology. Ready? He put the belt between his teeth and nodded. She went in. Lian's entire body arched, tendons standing out in his neck, but he stayed silent, except for a muffled sound deep in his throat. Julie followed the wound track, deeper than the shoulder. The bullet lodged against a rib. She could feel his muscles spasming around the forceps, his body trying to reject the intrusion. Almost there, she whispered. Almost. The forceps closed around metal. She pulled, steady pressure, no sudden movements. The bullet came free, and with it, a fresh rush of blood. Lian spat out the belt. How bad? You'll live. She packed the wound with gauze, applied pressure. Missed everything vital. You're either blessed or bulletproof. Neither. His eyes met hers, clearer now despite the pain. Dark brown, intense, seeing her in a way that made her suddenly aware she was in her tank top and sleep shorts, covered in his blood. Just lucky you were here. Lucky's not the word I'd use. Julie started suturing, pulling damaged tissue together. 16 stitches, 20. Her hands moved with practiced precision, while her mind caught up to what she'd done. She'd saved him. A criminal. A man people were hunting. A man who'd brought violence into her sanctuary. I'm Julie, she said quietly, since we're apparently in this together now. Lian. He watched her work, not looking away from the needle piercing his skin. And I'm sorry you got dragged into my war. War's a strong word. It's an accurate one. Lian's voice carried weight now, authority creeping back as the pain receded. My brother wants me dead. Those men work for him. They'll come back. Julie tied off the final suture. Then we'd better make sure you can run when they do. Julie made him tea. It felt absurd. Standing in her kitchen at 3 a.m, boiling water for a man she'd just pulled bullets from, a man whose blood still stained her bathroom floor. But he needed fluids, and she needed something to do with her hands that wasn't shaking. Lian sat on her couch now, shirtless, bandaged, looking like a sculpture of violence and exhaustion. He'd refused her offer of clothes, too dangerous to stay that long, but he'd accepted the blanket she'd draped over his shoulders. Small victories. Drink this. She handed him the mug. Green tea, nothing fancy. You've lost a lot of blood. You need to hydrate. He took it with both hands, steadying the mug before bringing it to his lips. Steam curled between them. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Julie sat in the chair across from him, maintaining distance. Professional distance, even though they'd crossed every professional boundary an hour ago. Now tell me why those men are so desperate to kill you. Lian studied her over the rim of the mug, evaluating, deciding how much truth she could handle. My name is Lian Tung, he said finally. My family controls most of the organized crime in Seoul. Drugs, protection, gambling, money laundering. Anything the government pretends doesn't exist, we make profitable. Julie had suspected, but hearing it confirmed, still sent ice through her veins. You're a gangster. I prefer the term businessman. A ghost of humor crossed his face. But yes, the Dragon of Seoul, they call me, head of the Tung family syndicate. And those men work for my brother Kenzo. Lian set down the mug, winced at the movement. He was supposed to be my successor. I trained him, trusted him, sent him to America for an MBA, so he could modernize our operations. He came back with different ideas about succession. Let me guess. Julie wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold, despite the apartment's warmth. He decided not to wait. He spent 5 years in prison, embezzlement charge I couldn't fix. 5 years planning. Lian's voice went flat, emotionless. He came out patient. Calculated. Everything I'm not. Tonight was his graduation ceremony. The restaurant. A peace dinner. How poetic. Lian touched the bandage on his side, checking for fresh bleeding. He killed my 4 best men in under a minute. Professional execution. Then he put 3 bullets in me and threw me out a window into the Han River. Julie processed this. So why does he need those cleaners? You should be dead already. Because a body never surfaced. Lian met her eyes. In our world, without proof of death, I'm Schrodinger's dragon, dead and alive simultaneously. And that ambiguity is dangerous. For who? Everyone. Lian leaned forward, intensity radiating from him despite his injuries. The Tung family controls territory across 6 districts. We maintain balance with the Russians, the Chinese triads, the remaining Yakuza cells. It's a careful ecosystem, built on respect and fear. I'm the keystone holding it together. Julie saw where this was going. And without you? Without confirmed death, my lieutenants won't accept Kenzo's leadership. They'll fracture into factions. Some will try to find me, others will try to seize power. Kenzo will have to purge them all, to consolidate control. Lian's jaw tightened. 50 men, maybe more. Loyal soldiers who served my father, who fought beside me. Dead because my brother couldn't wait 5 more years for natural succession. That's not your fault. Isn't it? Bitterness crept into his voice. I saw the signs. The questions about my judgment. The subtle challenges to my decisions. I thought it was ambition. Healthy competition between brothers. I was a fool. Julie stood, walked to the balcony door. The city glittered below, oblivious to the violence unfolding in its shadows. And the chaos won't stop with your men. No. Lian's reflection appeared in the glass beside hers. Gang war means territorial disputes. The Russians will push into Gangnam. The Chinese will claim Itaewon. Civilians get caught in the crossfire. Shop owners who won't pay double protection. women who work in the wrong club, anyone unfortunate enough to witness something they shouldn't. How many? Last time this happened in '98 before I took control? Leanne's voice dropped. 47 civilian casualties. 12 police officers. 3 years of bloodshed before equilibrium returned. Julie turned to face him. So you're telling me that saving you means preventing a war? I'm telling you that killing me incorrectly started one. Leanne held her gaze. I didn't choose this life, Julie. I inherited it. My father built an empire, and I maintain it. Not because I love violence, but because the alternative is worse. I'm the monster that keeps worse monsters in check. That's a hell of a rationalization. It's the truth. He stood slowly, steadying himself against the couch. I enforce rules. No human trafficking. No targeting civilians. No children involved in any capacity. The families under my protection pay, but they're protected. The drugs we move stay away from schools. The violence we commit has structure, purpose. You make it sound noble. It's not. Leanne's honesty surprised her. It's pragmatic. Evil governed is less destructive than evil unbound. That's all I've ever offered soul. Marginally better devils. Julie looked at this man, this dragon, standing bandaged and broken in her living room, making the case for his own survival like a lawyer arguing before a jury of one. And Kenzo? She asked. What kind of devil is he? The kind who sees people as spreadsheet entries. Leanne's expression hardened. He'll maximize profits, minimize inefficiencies. That shopkeeper who can't pay? Inefficient. That witness? Liability. Those old-fashioned rules about civilians? Obstacles to growth. Corporate gangster. Worse. Corporate sociopath. With an army. Leanne stepped closer. So yes, Julie. The price of my life is measured in hundreds of others. But the price of my death is measured in thousands. Leanne died on a Tuesday. At least, that's what the news said. Julie watched the report on her laptop while he slept on her couch. Notorious crime boss Leon Tung confirmed dead following gang violence. The anchor spoke in Korean, but the footage was clear. Police dragging the Han River. A body bag being loaded into a coroner's van. Kenzo Tung, in an expensive black suit, playing the grieving brother perfectly. They found someone. Leanne's voice came from behind her, rough with sleep and pain. Julie closed the laptop. A body double. Probably some homeless man. Same build, same age. Dental records can be altered, DNA samples switched. He moved carefully to the window, staying back from the glass. Kenzo's making it official. I'm a ghost now. Day 3, and Leanne was already restless. The color had returned to his face, his wounds healing faster than they should. Good genetics or sheer stubborn will, Julie couldn't tell which. You need to stay off that side, she said, watching him favor his left. The stitches won't hold if you keep moving. I've been still for 72 hours. I'm not used to being useless. Get used to it. You're my patient now, and patients follow orders. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement. Maybe respect. He was used to giving commands, not receiving them. But here, in her apartment, her rules applied. They developed a rhythm. Julie worked her hospital shifts, came home to find him exactly where she'd left him, as if he hadn't moved all day. But she noticed small things. Dishes washed and put away, the bathroom cleaned, her medical supplies organized with military precision. You don't have to do that, she said on day 5, finding her entire kitchen reorganized. I need to be useful. Leanne was cooking something that smelled incredible, moving carefully around her tiny kitchen. And you saved my life. The least I can do is make sure you eat properly. Julie watched him work. Precise knife cuts, practiced movements. They teach you that in crime boss school? My mother taught me. She said a man who can't feed himself is still a boy. He glanced back at her. Besides, you've been living on ramen and peanut butter. That's criminal. I work 12-hour shifts. Not an excuse. He plated the food. Kimchi jjigae, perfect color and texture. Sit. It became their routine. Julie would come home exhausted, and Leanne would have food waiting. They'd eat together in comfortable silence, the TV playing Korean dramas neither of them really watched. Sometimes he'd explain the cultural context she missed. Sometimes she'd quiz him on medical terminology, testing if the painkillers were affecting his cognitive function. Domestic. Almost normal. Easy to forget he was one of the most wanted men in Seoul. Day 6 brought complications. Mrs. Park from across the hall knocked during Julie's day off. She was 70, nosy, and suspicious of the foreign nurse who kept odd hours. Julie had been avoiding her for 2 years. I heard voices, Mrs. Park said in slow, loud Korean, the way people spoke to foreigners they assumed were stupid. Men voices. You have boyfriend. Behind the bathroom door, Leanne had gone perfectly still. Julie smiled, brain racing. Yes. Boyfriend. He's visiting. I want to meet. Mrs. Park craned her neck, trying to see past Julie into the apartment. Korean boyfriend? Good. Better than foreign. He's shy. Very shy. Shy. Mrs. Park's eyes narrowed. What kind of man is shy? Tell him come out. I say hello. Julie heard movement. Leanne emerged from the bathroom, and Julie's breath caught. He'd transformed somehow. Posture different. Expression softer. Wearing the oversized sweatshirt she'd bought him with the hood pulled up. He looked younger, harmless, like a grad student rather than a crime lord. He bowed deeply to Mrs. Park, keeping his eyes down. Annyeonghaseyo. His voice came out gentle, respectful. I'm David. David Kim. Mrs. Park studied him with the intensity of a detective. Kim? What family? Where from? Busan originally. Leanne's lie came smoothly. I'm a marine biologist. Met Julie at the hospital. I was visiting a colleague who had an accident. Marine biologist. Mrs. Park seemed impressed, despite herself. Good job, respected. You take care of her. I try to. Leanne glanced at Julie, and something in that look felt dangerously real. She works too hard. Yes. I tell her this. Mrs. Park warmed immediately. Always working, never social. You are good influence. You stay for dinner this week. I make bulgogi. We'd love to, Julie said quickly before Leanne could respond. But David's leaving tomorrow. Back to Busan. Research. Disappointment crossed Mrs. Park's face. Too bad. You come back soon, David Kim. This one needs someone to cook for her. After Mrs. Park left, Julie locked the door and turned to find Leanne smiling. Genuinely smiling for the first time since she'd met him. David Kim? She asked. Marine biologist? I had to think fast. Marine biology seemed appropriate for someone who survived the Han River. He pulled off the hoodie, winced as it caught on his shoulder bandage. You handled that well. I work in customer service. Lying's a survival skill. Julie started cleaning up the tea she'd hastily prepared. But we have a problem now. She'll watch for you to leave. She'll tell the other neighbors about you. Then David Kim leaves tomorrow morning, suitcase and all, gets in a taxi, and disappears forever. Leanne met her eyes. And I stay dead. For how long? As long as it takes to figure out how to stay alive. He touched the bandage on his side, gently, thoughtfully. Or until Kenzo finds me. That night, Julie couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed while Leanne slept on the couch, and listened to him breathe. Steady, alive, real. She'd saved him. Hidden him. Lied for him. Crossed every line she'd drawn for herself. And somehow, impossibly, her apartment had started to feel less empty. Maya found Julie in the supply closet on day 8, hyperventilating into a box of surgical masks. Girl, what's wrong? Maya shut the door, creating a pocket of privacy in the chaos of the ER. You've been off all shift. Did something happen? Julie couldn't tell her. Couldn't say that she'd left a mafia boss eating breakfast in her apartment. That she'd shown him how to change his own bandages in case she didn't make it home. That every siren made her jump because it might be coming for her. Just tired, Julie managed. Bad week. You need a vacation. Maybe go home for a minute, see your mom. Maya squeezed her shoulder. You're burning out, Julie. I can see it. Before Julie could respond, Dr. Han paged overhead. Trauma incoming. GSW to the chest. ETA 2 minutes. They moved on instinct, prepping the trauma bay. Another shooting. Another night in Seoul. Julie tied her mask, pulled on fresh gloves, and tried to focus on the work. The patient came in seizing. Male, mid-30s. Tattoos visible beneath the blood. Julie recognized the ink immediately. Red Scorpion Squad, one of Kenzo's allied gangs. The man's eyes rolled back, vitals crashing. He's coding, Dr. Han called. Start compressions. Julie worked the chest compressions while Maya managed the airway. 1, 2, 3, 4. The rhythm of life and death. The patient's lips moved, forming words no one could hear over the chaos. They got him back after 2 minutes. Weak pulse, thready breathing, but alive. As they transferred him to the ICU, Julie noticed the men in the waiting room. 4 of them, wearing the same suits the cleaners had worn. Professional, patient. Watching. Her blood went cold. Maya, she whispered. Those men, have they been here before? Maya glanced over, frowned. Security consultants, they said. Looking for someone who might come in for treatment. They've been asking questions all week, showing photos to staff, checking admission records. Julie's hands started shaking. She gripped the gurney tighter to hide it. What kind of photos? Surveillance shots. Men with injuries, gunshot wounds mostly. Maya lowered her voice. Between you and me, I think they're gangsters. But Dr. Han said to cooperate. Hospital doesn't want trouble. Julie's shift ended at 8. She changed quickly, avoided the main exit, and slipped out through the ambulance bay. But the parking lot felt wrong, too quiet, too exposed. A black sedan idled near her car, engine running. She reversed direction, headed for the subway instead. Took 3 different lines, got off twice to check if anyone followed. Basic evasion tactics she'd learned from crime shows, feeling ridiculous and terrified in equal measure. When she finally made it to her apartment building, she checked every shadow, every corner. The stairwell felt like a gauntlet. Her hands shook so badly, she could barely get the key in the lock. Leanne stood when she entered, reading her face immediately. What happened? They're at the hospital. Julie locked the door, engaged the deadbolt, checked it twice. Your brother's men. They're showing photos, asking questions, checking admission records. Leanne's expression went very still, very dangerous. What kind of photos? Maya said surveillance shots. Injured men. Julie dropped her bag, paced the small space. They're looking for someone who came in for treatment after your death. They know you might have needed medical help. Of course they do. Leanne moved to the window, careful to stay hidden. Kenzo's thorough. 3 gunshot wounds. I'd need professional care, or I'd die of infection. He's checking every hospital, clinic, and private doctor in Seoul. They'll check admission records. They'll see every patient treated that night. Julie's mind raced through the implications. They'll cross-reference addresses, look for anyone suspicious. And I'm the suspicious one, the foreign nurse who lives alone, who keeps to herself. They won't find the connection that fast. Medical records are protected. This is Korea. Money and fear open every door. Julie stopped pacing, faced him. How long until they put me on a list? How long until those men knock on this door again, but this time they don't leave? Leanne didn't answer immediately. He was calculating, analyzing, doing whatever strategic thinking kept him alive in his world. You need to act normal. Keep going to work, keep your routine. Any deviation makes you memorable. Normal? Leanne, I'm harboring a fugitive. I'm lying to my colleagues, sneaking around like a criminal. You are a criminal now. His bluntness cut through her panic. The moment you helped me, you became complicit. Running makes you guilty. Staying calm keeps you invisible. Julie sank onto the couch, head in her hands. This is insane. This whole situation is insane. I know. Leon sat beside her, careful to maintain distance. And I'm sorry. If I could go back to that night, I'd have crawled past your balcony. Found someone else. Let you keep your quiet life. Would you? Julie looked at him. Really? He met her eyes, honest. No. Because then I'd be dead, and you're the only reason I'm not. A knock on the door froze them both. Julie's heart stopped. Leon rose silently, moved toward the bathroom. But before he could disappear, Mrs. Park's voice called out. Julie, I bring you soup. Open up. Julie exhaled shakily. Just the neighbor. Just soup. Normal, domestic, safe. She opened the door to find Mrs. Park holding a container of myeokguk, and behind her in the hallway, a man in a dark suit watching from the stairwell. Watching her. Mrs. Park noticed Julie's expression. You okay? You look sick. This soup help. She pressed the container into Julie's hands, then lowered her voice. Also, strange men asking questions about building. You be careful, yes? Lock door. Don't trust strangers. The man in the stairwell had disappeared. Julie clutched the soup container, smiled through her terror. Thank you, Mrs. Park. I'll be careful. She closed the door, locked it, and turned to find Leanne standing rigid, his hand on something metallic tucked in his waistband. A knife from her kitchen, she realized. His only weapon. They're coming, he said quietly. Not today, maybe not tomorrow. But they're narrowing the search. We need a plan. Julie set down the soup with trembling hands. What kind of plan? The kind where we both survive. Leanne's eyes held hers, dark and determined. Because Kenzo just made a mistake. He sent men to your hospital. That means he's desperate. And desperate men make errors. What kind of errors? The kind that get them caught. Leanne's expression shifted, the dragon emerging beneath the wounded man. I've been hiding, healing, playing dead. But if my brother wants to hunt me through you, then it's time to remind him why I was called the dragon in the first place. Julie saw it then, the transformation from patient to predator. And she realized with cold clarity that she'd saved something far more dangerous than she'd understood. What are you going to do? She asked. Leanne's smile had no warmth. I'm going to make him regret ever thinking I was the easier brother to kill. The text came at midnight. We have something that belongs to you. Tung family estate. Come alone, or she dies screaming. Below it, a photo. Maya bound to a chair, terror in her eyes, blood trickling from her temple. Julie stared at her phone, the world tilting sideways. No, 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 no. Leon took the phone from her shaking hands, his face going stone cold. Kenzo knows. He figured out you were helping me. Maya has nothing to do with this. Julie's voice cracked. She's innocent. She's just a nurse. She's leverage. Leon was already moving, pulling on the black jacket he'd kept hidden in her closet. Underneath, Julie saw what he'd been hiding for 2 weeks. A shoulder holster, empty. And Kenzo just made his final mistake. What are you doing? Ending this. Leon opened her freezer, reached behind the ice trays, and pulled out a pistol wrapped in plastic. He'd had it there the whole time, Julie realized. Always prepared. Always 3 moves ahead. You can't go. It's a trap. He wants you to come. Of course it's a trap. Leon checked the magazine, chambered around with practiced efficiency. But he's not expecting me to spring it. He thinks I'm weak, injured, on the run. He thinks 2 months of hiding broke me. Maybe it should have. Julie grabbed his arm. Maybe staying alive matters more than playing Mafia games. Leon's eyes met hers, and she saw the dragon fully awake now. Dangerous, decisive, lethal. If I let him kill an innocent woman to get to me, then I'm not worth staying alive for. He headed for the door. Julie made her decision in the space of a heartbeat. Wait. She grabbed her medical bag, started loading supplies. Hemostatic gauze, tourniquets, emergency sutures. You're not going alone. Julie, no. She's my friend, my responsibility. Julie's hands moved with clinical precision, muscle memory taking over. And you're still recovering. Those wounds are barely healed. You go in there alone, you'll bleed out before you save anyone. This isn't your world. It became my world the second I pulled those bullets out of you. Julie zipped the bag, slung it over her shoulder. Besides, you need me. You're good at violence. I'm good at keeping people alive. We make a good team. Leanne stared at her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. If we do this, you follow my lead. You stay behind me. You don't try to be a hero. Heroes are dead people who got lucky. Julie grabbed her keys. I'm a nurse. I keep people breathing. Now let's go get Maya. They took a taxi to Gangnam, then walked the last mile to the Tung family estate. The compound sprawled across 2 acres. Traditional Korean architecture, hiding very modern security. Walls topped with cameras, guards at the main gate, floodlights turning night into day. Back entrance, Leanne whispered. Through the gardens. There's a servant's door that might still use the old code. They moved through shadows, Julie's heart hammering so hard she thought the guards might hear it. But Leanne moved like smoke, and she followed his rhythm. Step when he stepped, freeze when he froze, breathe when he breathed. The door code worked. They slipped inside. The estate's interior was all dark wood and expensive art, the kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself. Leanne navigated by memory, avoiding the main corridors, taking service hallways and hidden passages. He'll have Maya in the main hall, Leanne murmured. Maximum drama. Kenzo always liked an audience. They reached a balcony overlooking the hall. Below, exactly as predicted, Maya sat tied to a chair in the center of the room. Blood matted her hair, and her face was swollen from impact, but she was conscious. Alive. Kenzo stood behind her, one hand resting almost gently on her shoulder. 20 men ringed the room, armed, professional, waiting. I know you're here, brother. Kenzo's voice carried perfectly in the acoustic space. I can feel you watching, always judging. But now you get to choose. Step out and face me, or I start removing your nurse friend's fingers one at a time. He produced a pair of bolt cutters. Maya whimpered through her gag. Julie's hand went to Leanne's arm, stopping him before he could move. Wait. Look at the positioning. She'd spent 2 years in trauma, learned to read rooms fast, assess threats, calculate odds. 20 men, but they were clustered wrong. All facing the main entrance, expecting Leanne to come through the front like some action movie hero. They're not watching the balconies, she whispered. And look, the chandelier. It's gas, old style. The control box is right there. Leanne followed her gaze, saw what she saw. A smile ghosted across his face. You're thinking like a criminal. I'm thinking like someone who wants us all to survive. Julie reached into her bag, pulled out a small bottle. Isopropyl alcohol, highly flammable. And I've got a lighter. You smoke? I date bad boys, apparently. She handed him the bottle. You create the distraction. I get Maya. We run like hell. That's not a plan. That's suicide with extra steps. You have a better idea? Leanne looked at her, really looked at her, and Julie saw the moment he stopped seeing a nurse and started seeing a partner. An equal. Someone who'd earned her place in his war. On my signal, he said. When the lights go out, you move fast. Don't stop for anything. What's the signal? You'll know. Leanne moved along the balcony, found the gas line, opened the valve slightly. The smell of gas began to permeate the air. Below, guards started to notice, but slowly, confused. Then Leanne stood, fully visible, and the room went electric. "Hello, little brother." His voice carried absolute authority, the dragon addressing his usurper. "I believe you have something of mine." Kenzo spun, shock cracking his composed mask. "Impossible. You're dead. You'll have to try harder than that." Leanne raised the bottle of alcohol, lighter in his other hand. "Now let the women go, and maybe I won't burn your inheritance to the ground." Guards raised weapons. 20 muzzles tracking one target. "You're bluffing," Kenzo said. "You'd die too." "I've been dying for 2 months. What's a few more minutes?" Leanne flicked the lighter. The flame caught. Leanne threw the bottle. Everything happened at once. The bottle exploded mid-air, igniting the gas-saturated air. Fire bloomed across the ceiling, the chandelier erupting. Men dove for cover. The lights shorted out. Julie was already moving. She vaulted the balcony rail, hit the ground rolling, came up running. Maya's eyes went wide as Julie reached her, knife already cutting through rope. "It's me. It's me. You're okay." Gunfire erupted. Bullets sparked off marble floors. Julie grabbed Maya, half-carried her toward the servants' entrance. Behind them, Leanne fought like something inhuman. He'd grabbed a fallen guard's baton, moving through the chaos with brutal efficiency. But there were too many. Even the dragon couldn't fight 20 men. Julie saw Kenzo raising a pistol, aiming at Leanne's back, while he was engaged with 2 other guards. She didn't think, just acted, grabbed a fallen chair, swung it with everything she had. Caught Kenzo across the temple. He went down hard, gun skittering away. Their eyes met for a second, the usurper and the nurse. She saw shock, rage, and something like respect. Then Leanne was grabbing her arm. "Run!" They ran, through the servants' quarters, out into the gardens, over the wall. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. Behind them, the Tung estate burned, orange flames licking at the night sky. They didn't stop running until they reached the river, the same river that had almost claimed Leanne's life 2 months ago. Now it offered escape. A boat waited, engine running. Leanne's contingency plan. Maya collapsed in the boat, sobbing. Julie held her while Leanne piloted them downstream, away from the flames, away from the life he'd built and destroyed in one night. "Is it over?" Maya asked through tears. Julie met Leanne's eyes across the boat, saw the answer before he spoke. "No," Leanne said quietly. "But we bought ourselves time." The city disappeared behind them. Ahead, only water and darkness, and the uncertain promise of survival. Julie held her friend close and realized she'd become exactly what she'd feared. A criminal, a fugitive, someone who'd crossed every line. But Maya was alive. That had to count for something. Julie stood on the wooden deck, watching the Andaman Sea turn gold under the sunrise. Thailand, Krabi Province, a place so far from Seoul it might as well be another planet. 3 months since the night everything ended, and she still woke up reaching for her medical bag, listening for boots in the hallway. "You're up early." Leanne's voice came from behind her, carrying 2 mugs. He moved differently now. Still careful of his side, but the limp was gone. The wounds had healed into pale scars that he wore like a map of survival. Couldn't sleep. Julie took the coffee, black the way she'd learned to drink it during those frantic weeks. "I keep thinking about Maya. Whether she's okay, whether they questioned her." "Your friend is fine." Leanne leaned against the railing beside her. "I have someone watching." Kenzo left her alone after the first interview. She knew nothing, so she was useless to him. Julie hated how easily he said it. Have someone watching. Even here, even now, his world followed them like a shadow. "You promised no more secrets." "That's not a secret. That's protection." Leanne turned to face her. "You walked away from everything because of me. The least I can do is make sure the people you left behind stay safe." She'd resigned from Seoul Metropolitan 3 days after the standoff. A sudden family emergency back in Atlanta, she'd told Dr. Han. Ironic, since she hadn't spoken to her mother in weeks, couldn't risk a call that might be traced. Her mother thought she was still in Korea, living her quiet nurse life, sending occasional texts that said nothing real. Everyone thought she was somewhere else. That was the point. "I got an email from the nursing board," Julie said. "They're approving my international license transfer. I could work at the clinic in town." "You want to work?" "I need to work. I didn't spend 6 years in school to make coffee on a beach." She sipped, watching fishing boats dot the horizon. "Besides, sitting around thinking gives me too much time to regret things." "Do you?" Leanne's question came quietly. "Regret it?" Julie considered lying. considered saying what he wanted to hear. But they'd been through too much for comfortable lies. Sometimes. She met his eyes. I had a life, Leanne. Not a perfect one, but it was mine. My apartment, my job, my routine. Now I'm in a country where I don't speak the language, using a passport that's probably fake, living with a man who... She stopped. Who what? Who I can't decide if I'm hiding with or hiding from. The words hung between them like a challenge. They'd crossed every boundary except the obvious one. Shared a bathroom, shared meals, shared the terror of running, but the space between patient and protector, savior and saved, remained carefully maintained. Leanne set down his mug. The passport is real. Costa Rican, they don't ask questions if you pay enough. Your name is Julia Moreno now. Born in San Jose, educated in the States, trauma nurse looking for a slower pace. He recited it like a catechism. Everything tracks. Everything's clean. Everything's a lie. Everything's survival. His jaw tightened. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to drag you into exile, make you abandon your life, turn you into a fugitive? Then why did you? Julie's voice rose despite herself. Why didn't you disappear that first night, after I patched you up? Why stay? Why cook dinner? Why? She gestured helplessly at the cottage, the sea, the impossible intimacy of their situation. Why make me care? Leanne was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried something raw. Because for the first time in 20 years, someone saw me as a man instead of a monster. Because you didn't flinch when you learned who I was. Because you're the only person in my life who chose me without wanting something in return. I chose to save you. That's different than choosing this. Is it? He stepped closer, and Julie's breath caught. You could have walked away 100 times. After the hospital, after Kenzo's men started closing in. I gave you outs, Julie. I told you to run, to call the police, to save yourself. But you stayed, because running would have gotten us both killed. Because you're a better person than you give yourself credit for. Leanne's hand came up, hesitated, then touched her face with devastating gentleness. You saved me. Not just my life, my humanity. Everything I'd buried to survive that world, you reminded me it was still there. Julie closed her eyes against the touch. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. Your brother's still out there. Your world is still out there. I know, we're not safe. We'll never be safe. I know that too. Leanne's thumb traced her cheekbone. But I'd rather be hunted with you than rule without you. Julie opened her eyes. Saw the man she'd found bleeding on her bathroom floor. The patient she'd stitched back together. The dragon who'd learned to be human again. Saw all of it. The danger. The possibility. The terrifying intimacy of shared survival. A car engine cut through the morning quiet. They both froze. Julie's hand went automatically to the knife tucked under the deck table. Leanne's entire body shifted, predator instincts rising instantly. A black sedan rolled slowly past the cottage, windows tinted, purpose unclear. It didn't stop, kept going down the coastal road, disappeared around the bend. But it had been there. A reminder. A shadow. We should move, Leanne said quietly. This place is compromised. We just got here. And now we leave. That's how this works. He pulled away. The moment shattered. I'll start packing. We can be gone in an hour. Julie watched him disappear into the cottage. Watched him become the tactician again, the survivor. This was their life now. Beautiful mornings interrupted by black cars. Peace that lasted only until the next sighting. She looked out at the sea, at the sun climbing higher, at the fishing boats living their simple lives. Freedom had always been an illusion, but so was safety. Maybe the only real choice was who you ran with when the shadows came. Julie drained her coffee and followed him inside. They'd be gone by noon. Different names, different coast, same impossible partnership. The Mafia was a shadow that never disappeared. But shadows couldn't exist without light. And somehow, impossibly, they'd become each other's light. For now, that was enough. Thanks for watching. Please like, comments, and subscribe.